Hey, friends, well, welcome to Q on Q. We are glad you are with us for this episode. If you are listening when this first premieres, we are a few weeks into 2025. I pray the new year has been a good one for you so far. I do have to ask you a question, though, as we get started. How many of you made a resolution? And if you did, how many of you have kept them so far? Last week was National Quitters Day. Kind of a horrible holiday, if you ask me, but it's to commemorate those who have made resolutions and have already been unable to keep them this far into the year. Well, if you tuned into our last episode, you know I shared about the one word philosophy and that my word for 2025 is the word focus. I hope you've been able to focus on your resolutions and have been more successful. I came to that word after lots of thought and prayer and reflecting about all the things that seem to pull us off track. The things and experiences and people and situations that take us off course and stop us from achieving our goals and objectives. So, my plan for 2025 is to focus on key areas that can help me live out my faith in practical and meaningful ways. Over the first few episodes of this new year, I want to talk about why it's so important to focus on certain areas of our lives and how those can be so impactful in just about everything. This week, I want to talk about setting priorities. Now, I know this is a very large topic and it's going to look very different for just about everybody, but I think there are some very common threads that are important for all of us to consider when setting our life's priorities. Focusing on priorities is a powerful way to align your daily actions with your long term goals and values. To effectively identify, set, and maintain focus on your priorities, it's important to approach the process of setting your priorities with clarity and intentionality. It should be something you don't just think about, but you pray out and take time to consider. When setting priorities in your life, I think one of the most important things each of us needs to consider is how we're going to be accountable to ourselves. Besides printing out my one word and making it very visible in my daily life, I am a list person. I make daily to do lists for just about everything. I have spreadsheets for finances, work schedules for my composition. Some people think it's overkill, but while the lists aren't always 100% perfect, I mean, life does get in the way and sometimes things get pushed to the next day, it's important to have a plan and for that plan to be visible. For me, the only way to get things accomplished is to type it or write it down, and it gets added to the list and added to the priority list of where it needs to be completed. Making your priorities visible starts with identifying them clearly and placing visual reminders in spaces you encounter daily. This is going to look different for everybody. Much like the one word idea, start by listing your top goals or values and translate them into tangible symbols or phrases. For example, if your focus is on health, you might display a calendar tracking workouts or a motivational quote on your refrigerator. If personal relationships are a priority, place family photos or a weekly schedule for quality time in prominent locations that can serve as a good reminder. By keeping these cues in your line of sight, you align your environment with your intentions. Another strategy is to integrate your priorities into your digital spaces. We are sometimes, we could say, hooked on our phones and on our computers all the time for work or other things. So set your phone or computer wallpaper with an inspiring image or some sort of text reflecting your main focus. Use a task management app to categorize and prioritize daily actions according to your goals. If you have time and find it meaningful, consider creating a vision board. Those can help you gather your priorities visually, keeping them literally front and center. Vision boards could be physical or digital. There's a lot of creation tools out there to help you make them if you decide to go the digital route. These practices help bridge the gap between intention and action by consistently reinforcing what matters most. So let's get back to setting priorities. Before you can make a list or determine what your priorities are, there's something you need to focus on, and that is to reflect on your core values. What means the most to you? Start by identifying the things that truly matter to you the most. Your priorities should align directly with your values. Core values are the guiding principles that shape your decisions, your actions, and really your sense of purpose. Identifying these values is essential because they serve as a compass for setting meaningful priorities in our lives. If you're not clear about what matters most, it's easy to be swept up in the demands and the distractions of the world that pull you away from your true purpose. So, to identify your core values, start with asking yourself a few questions. And these questions are kind of loaded, but really they're essential if you're going to get honest reflection. What motivates me to get out of bed each day? What brings me the greatest sense of fulfillment? What do I want my legacy to be? These questions are pretty big questions, but they can uncover the underlying principles that resonate deeply with you. For example, if teaching and mentoring others brings you joy, your values are most likely going to be things along the line of growth, impact, or connection with others. Another practical exercise you can do is to examine your past experiences. Now, I'm not saying here to keep yourself stuck in the past, but in reflecting on the past, what are the things and who are the people that make you happy? And then ask yourself, why are those things meaningful to you? Likewise, think about the times when you felt conflicted or uncomfortable. Often these moments reveal values you were holding up or areas where your actions conflicted with those. This awareness can provide powerful insight into your core priorities. Of course, it's important to consider core values based on faith and family, and that can include honesty, creativity, achievement, even adventure. While all values are good, focusing on a smaller set becomes the lens through which you evaluate opportunities, challenges, and decisions. And then, when faced with a decision, ask yourself, does this align with my values? If the answer is no, it may be a sign to redirect your focus or reassess the situation. You'll notice I didn't say refocus your priorities. It's important to identify your priorities and then put your experiences and interactions and activities through that filter. It's not something we change on a daily basis. Ultimately, knowing your core values empowers you to live intentionally. They provide clarity in a world full of competing demands, enabling you to say yes to what aligns with your principles and no to what doesn't. Okay, so once you've decided what these priorities will be, where do you go? How do you move forward? Well, even though this might seem trivial or repetitive, I think our core values need to be translated into goals. I often use the acronym SMART. It's nothing new. It stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Specific, something that I know what it is. Measurable, something that I can assess whether it's been effective or not. Achievable, I want to be real about what my goals are, not some pie in the sky thing that is so far out there I'll never get there. Relevant, something connected to who I am and what I do, and time bound. I want it to be specific to a set or approximate amount of time. Defining clear goals ensures your priorities are not abstract, but they're tied to concrete actions. For example, if your finances are a priority, set a goal of reducing expenses or paying off debt faster, and then look for concrete ways within your budget that can be done. Or in my case, buy less donuts so I won't be tempted to eat more of them later. Remember that not all priorities hold the same weight at the same time. It's important to categorize your goals into short-term, mid-term, and long-term objectives. I often set goals for anywhere from a few weeks to a month, and then 6 months and maybe a year long. For the short term, what are some things you could honestly achieve rather quickly? Let's use that budget example. Sitting down and looking for ways to reduce costs each month might be easily attainable in the first month. Something that you could cut out quickly, like maybe a couple extra coffees that you stop for, or that one time you eat out, or maybe those extra channels you don't need on your streaming service. For a midterm goal, 6 months or so out, look for something in which you need to do a little groundwork, but that results won't happen immediately, but won't be too far off. What about something like when you adopt a healthier lifestyle? Weight loss or energy increase doesn't always happen overnight, but 6 months out, if you stick to it, you'll see the type of results you're looking for. And long term, 1 year and longer. Once you prioritize where you're going and what you're doing, what do you think things will look like a year from now? Last year at this time, I prioritized writing new musical compositions. The problem is, as a relatively unknown composer in a world of very popular names, knew I wouldn't sell 1,000 copies right out of the gate. But a year later, being persistent and starting small, my compositions are selling, and they've been played by groups in a dozen states, and have really set the groundwork to build on to write new music in 2025. So, how will you keep track of your priorities? Well, I mentioned earlier a to do list or posting them somewhere. For you, it might be digital or physical. It might be a planner, it might be a task management system, like I mentioned, or even a simple to do list. Regularly viewing and updating the system ensures you stay aligned with your priorities. Block out time in your calendar to do this. Block out time for high priority tasks and treat these blocks as non negotiable. With that means learning to say no sometimes. One of the biggest challenges to maintaining focus with your priorities is the temptation to say yes to everything. Develop the discipline to say no to commitments that don't align with your values or goals. Politely declining low priority tasks frees up time and mental energy for what truly matters. So you might be sitting there saying, "This all sounds great, but how do we know we'll be successful? What do we need to stay on path?" Well, just as much as we need to be accountable to ourselves, when setting priorities in your life, I think each of us needs to consider how we can have others to help keep us accountable. Accountability from others can be a powerful tool for staying focused on your priorities. By inviting trusted individuals into your journey, you create a support system that provides encouragement, feedback, and really a sense of shared commitment. Most of us hopefully have a couple of people who are closest to us that we trust with most, if not all, of what goes on in our lives. If you're comfortable sharing with those people, consider asking one or two of them to be an accountability partner. When others close to you understand what's important to you, they can better support your goals and hold you accountable. For example, if you've prioritized personal health, sharing this with a workout partner can make it easier to stay committed. Establishing regular check ins with an accountability partner can help you stay aligned with your goals. This could be a weekly conversation, a monthly review, or if you're super busy, even a quick daily text. Using these check ins to discuss your progress, celebrate wins, and identify challenges can be super powerful. Knowing someone will ask about your priorities adds a layer of motivation for you to stay on track. And those people can also provide constructive feedback, but we have to be willing to take it. And this might be the hardest part, even harder than being accountable to ourselves. Sometimes others can see when you're veering off course before you do. Their outside perspective can help you refocus when distractions or competing demands arise. Be open to hearing their input and willing to adjust your actions accordingly. This is one I sometimes have trouble with. I think we all do. One of my major priorities in 2025 is continuing on the health journey I started last year. A little over a year ago at this time, I had some not so good blood work results, and the doctor put me on what I thought was going to be a really restrictive diet, but it turned out to be a catalyst for putting me in the right direction. A year later, my levels are back in line, but with that good news, I find myself shifting away from some of those healthy decisions, almost as if I reached an endpoint and I can go back to the way it was. Just last week, my wife asked me if I really needed that extra donut, and I probably should not have eaten it. I ate it, and then I felt bad, and then I compensated by watching for the calories I had the rest of the day. But having somebody like that in your life can help keep you in line. We just have to learn to be able to be willing to take that criticism or guidance. Perhaps most importantly, we need to celebrate wins. Acknowledging progress with others can be a powerful motivator. When you hit a significant milestone, share the achievement with your accountability partner and celebrate together. This reinforces the value of your efforts and strengthens the bond between you and those supporting you. Remember, accountability is a two-way street. By supporting others in their goals, you reinforce the habit of accountability in your own life. When you prioritize mutual growth, You build a culture of shared focus and encouragement. Letting others help keep you accountable requires trust, transparency, and a willingness to be vulnerable. The rewards are well worth it: a stronger commitment to your priorities, deeper connections with those supporting you, and the satisfaction of knowing you're not navigating your journey alone. Life is dynamic. Your priorities may shift over time, but it's important to actually take time to focus on them. And perhaps what's more important is to remember we don't change priorities week to week just because it suits us best or life gets too busy. To be honest, that's just the easy way out. And it really means you don't have any priorities. Because if we change what's important to us, just like the wind changes direction, we're really saying nothing is important to us. Instead, set aside moments to reflect on your progress and reassess your priorities. This could be a monthly check in or a semi annual review or something. Do it in self reflection with your family, with your accountability people. Adjust your focus as needed to ensure it remains relevant to your current circumstances and aspirations. These strategies not only help in achieving goals, but they also foster a sense of fulfillment and alignment with your deeper values. Focusing on your priorities isn't just about making lists or managing your time, it's about living with purpose. When you align your priorities with your core values, you create a life that feels authentic and fulfilling. It's not always easy. The world is full of distractions and competing demands, but the effort to stay focused is worth it. As you move forward, take time to reflect regularly. Stay in tune with your values, remain adaptable so you'll be able to navigate life's changes without losing sight of what matters most. Remember, this journey isn't one you have to take alone. Surround yourself with people who understand and support your goals. Share your priorities with them, ask for their accountability, and be willing to do the same for others. Because together, you can create a community that fosters focus, growth, and encouragement. Let's make 2025 a year where focus drives every decision and action we take. Start by choosing one priority today, something small but meaningful, and take the first step. And then keep stepping. Your priorities will guide you, your values will ground you, and the people around you will help you stay the course. Well, friends, thank you for joining me on this journey. If this conversation has sparked any thoughts or insights, I would love to hear from you. You can reach out to us through Facebook or Instagram at QonQ. Again, that's QonQueuE. Let's keep this dialogue going as we focus on creating a purposeful and meaningful year ahead. Next time, we'll be talking about focusing on relationships, why they deserve our attention, and really just how much our relationships affect so much in our lives. Till then, stay focused and stay true to what matters most. I really do appreciate you tuning in this week. We'll see you back here next time when we'll have more for you on Q.